afternoon. Welcome to Conversation with Affiliates. My name is Danilo Bertranovich. I work here at the Abigail Adams Institute, and today it's my great pleasure to welcome Dr. Konstantin Starikov to the Institute. Konstantin is our graduate and professional fellow, and 2 years ago he gave a series of lectures, really classes, in one of our mini lecture courses on the brothers Karamazov. I think we titled it Introduction to Russian Thought. So, Konstantin, welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. So, Konstantin, I want to begin about your scholarly background. We met, I should say, originally I met Konstantin at Yale. What did you specialize in at Yale in graduate school?
I'm a continuous learner. I consider myself not a polymath just yet, but a philomath, which means that I really enjoy learning things. And that's how I met Danilo. So I met you in New Haven, and I studied Slavic literatures and languages. I did not finish the program there, and I came back here to Boston and earned a master's in library science and information program here at that time Simmons College and Simmons University, and then Russian literary riddles, and I earned a doctorate from Brown University.
So I became a Brown man. You started as a Yale man, became a Brown. So it was on Russian literature, Russian riddles, you said?
So Russian literary riddles, particularly poetic riddles.
So what is a poetic riddle as opposed to another kind of riddle?
Well, it is a poem. Those riddles were created for the first time in Russian literature in the 18th century in forms very close to French genre. My topic, my research really concentrated on digging up all the texts that I could find, going through old journals and any resource that I could get my hands on.
So how does one come upon this particular subject? Presumably, I mean, did you come into graduate school knowing you wanted to study riddles?
As I said, I was hopping from subject to subject. Myself, I wrote poetry in Russian, still sometimes do, and I also experimented with a genre called macaronic genre, which is a poetic genre, not only poetic, but I was particularly interested in poetic genre, where you mix different languages and you create this humorous poetry.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that I would write my dissertation on this topic, but unfortunately it turned out that there isn't that much to work with in Russian literature, especially in the 18th century. So my dissertation advisor, Professor Alexander Ritsky, gave me the idea that I should look broader into riddles, all kinds of intellectual games in literature, and then I focused solely on riddles.
And what is, if I may put it this way, what is the one big lesson or finding from this project? What is the takeaway, if you can summarize it for us from this?
Well, I would say that the idea of a game, so whether it's a literary game or any kind of game, even a sports game, brings a lot of cultural symbolism and a lot of cultural value that we don't really think about it. And I was able to look at riddles from different points of view. So I was looking at them from the religious point of view, from the entertainment point of view, from the Enlightenment point of view, in the sense that it was a certain mental paradigm which allowed to think about intellectual recreation as a way to become European in Russian culture, and also how things changed and how the 18th century riddle, which was highly valued from the literary point of view, became sort of a little, not that interesting and important from the literary point of view nowadays. Usually, when we say riddles, we think of children,
Yes.
or maybe folk riddles, things like that.
Sure. Is it possible to? I mean, this might be too difficult to translate, or maybe it's not. Give us an example of a short riddle that maybe we can understand or begin understanding.
Right. So the very first riddle ever that was literary riddle that was written is about
In Russian.
In Russian,
In Russian,
was about something that is very mighty, that is very fast, and this and that, and of course in Russian all rhymes in 18th century syntax and vocabulary, and what is very fast, very glorious, very heroic, and but at the same time dies right away. It's wind.
It's wind?
Wind. Yeah,
Wind.
So wind. So a lot of these answers are part of the natural phenomenon: wind, sun, moon, but also a lot of them are about courage, God, faith, all the abstract things that the Russian writers at the time considered as Enlightenment ideas. There are even some naughty ones. So there was a Russian poet Barkov who wrote actually pornographic riddles, and the answers are not PG-13.
This is 18th century as well.
18th century.
And what about riddles in other national traditions? Have you looked at those? Like the French, you said the French
Russians
took from French?
Yeah, so I looked at French, German riddles. I mean, I was fascinated by the riddling tradition from all over the world, going through from ancient times to modern times. And also looked at also these different fields. So for example, there's a whole field of that studies leisure, so leisure studies, for example. So how they, so in many ways, of course, I just tapped into something which is very broad, but it's just a drop in the sea, and I hope other people will get interested in this type of
comparative riddle studies. Journal of comparative riddles. Yes, so we should start one of those. No, it sounds. And you mentioned so ancient riddles. So Greeks, Romans.
Of course.
Everyone had these. Yes.
It's a fascinating field that I think still is open to a lot of research, and anyone who's thinking about writing a dissertation, I would highly recommend considering something that might interest you in this field.
Terrific. So Konstantin, you mentioned so your other intellectual life, you're a librarian, and what kind of librarian?
Well, believe it or not, when we say librarian, it also means a lot of different things, and when I decided to go into library science, I thought, well, great, now I can read lots of books, and usually that's the kind of reaction I get from people who ask, what do you do all day? But especially now, the library field is changing very fast, so that it's no longer traditional physical building. It's no longer that traditional book. There's so many different ways that librarians contribute to the modern society. I particularly was interested in cataloging, how information is classified, things like that. So initially I thought I was going to go into something like that, but then of course catalogers are no longer needed because physical books are going away. But at the same time, I did not end up in that niche of the library world. So now, metadata specialists would be the
cutting edge,
kind of the catalogers of today. I ended up working in the medical library because at Yale I had my own experience of dealing with illness and also sort of big question that gets asked in Russian literature, sort of what's the meaning of life, especially when you are in a situation where you might not live longer. And for me, I was always fascinated by my grandfather was a doctor, my grandmother was a nurse, and when I got an opportunity to work in the medical library, I took that job and ended up working there for over 10 years. So that was a long time. At the same time, I continued to volunteer my time and participated in digital humanities projects and things like that. So
Yes, no, interesting. Digital humanities. I think something that we should maybe hear from you about next time, perhaps. So thank you very much, Konstantin, for that intellectual introduction to you and your interests and your work. And we look forward to welcoming you to the Scholars Workshop in a few weeks.
yeah, thank you so much.